roads lead to Rome. It's a familiar one, often taken to mean the best way to tackle a tough problem. But why Rome specifically? Well, let's delve into history for a moment. Ancient Rome was a powerhouse of trade and politics, boasting advanced sea and land routes. Those straight Roman roads were the lifeblood of the mighty empire, making travel quick and easy. Picture it, Rome's map back then looked like a sun with straight raised roads leading right to the heart of the city. Without getting bogged down in historical or grammatical analysis, let's stick to the storytelling basics. If you're traveling Italy, your path will inevitably converge toward one destination, the capital, the eternal city of Rome. When opting to explore a captivating country like Italy, it's futile to aim to see all its landmarks. Doing so could consume a lifetime. Even narrowing your tourist focus solely to the capital requires ample time to grasp Rome even remotely. The impressions from your initial steps on ancient cobblestones, among weathered walls, and within the pervasive Roman ambience will resonate deeply, quite literally. Everyone who sets foot in Rome pledges undying affection to it, for to not love this city is near impossible. With the first inhalation of Roman air comes the realization that such adoration can be not just experienced, but also breathed in fully. In Rome, pinpointing the most striking aspect of this truly eternal city is a challenge. The magnificence of the Coliseum is steeped in millennia of history. The allure of the Spanish Steps, the Roman Forum's grandeur, the fountain's splendor, and countless other edifices rich with history. The azure expanse of the sky, the verdant charm of the pine trees, and the extraordinary warmth of the Italians captivate effortlessly. Rome's hold remains unyielding, even as flight attendants stow the ramp and seal the plane's door, ferrying you back home. Rome stands as one of the oldest cities globally, its founding dating back 2,777 years. Nestled in the heart of the Apennine Peninsula along the Tiber River, near the shores of the Tyrrhenian Sea, Rome's earliest settlements adorned the Palatine Hill. Over time, neighboring hills like the Capitoline and Querno were populated, followed by four more, the Caelian, Aventine, Esquiline, and Viminal. According to legend, as no written records remain, Rome was established in 753 BC. In one Roman myth, the narrative revolves around twin brothers Romulus and Remus. Despite scholarly debate, Romulus remains acknowledged as the founder of ancient Rome. The tale unfolds atop the Palatine Hill, where Romulus, sketching conditional plan lines, and Remus, playfully leaping over them, engage in a dispute. Remus asserts that none should transgress the boundary. None shall cross the border of my city. It's challenging to ascertain whether this is fact, or if the legend has been embellished. Yet the resolute character of the mythical Romulus leaves little doubt. Folklore suggests Romulus became the city's inaugural king, lending his name to its title Rome. Through the ages, Rome's influence burgeoned. By 509 BC, Rome had become the capital of a republic that expanded its dominion across vast territories encircling the Mediterranean Sea, parts of England, Asia Minor, and North Africa. For centuries, Rome reigned as the capital of one of the world's most formidable empires. Its zenith arrived in the 2nd century AD, when Rome claimed the distinction of being the globe's largest and most developed city. its enduring march of civilization continues to captivate. In colloquial expressions like money doesn't smell, we recall the sardonic Emperor Vespasian, and perhaps his noble son Titus, who, even amid a day devoid of virtuous deeds, would lament, "Friends, I have squandered it a day." Or we reflect on Julius Caesar, who, standing at the Rubicon's edge, declared, "The die is cast," initiating civil unrest. And in his final moments, slain by traitors, he uttered the poignant phrase, "Et tu, brute!" an epitome of treachery etched into history. In Rome, there were numerous palaces, temples, theaters, libraries, stadiums, hospitals, roads, baths, and aqueducts. Perhaps it will be challenging to name all the innovations of the mighty Roman Empire that have become commonplace for us today. The Romans were the first in the world to invent concrete and successfully used it to bind travertine limestone blocks during construction. The famous Coliseum was erected using this technology. In ancient Rome, there was an issue of overcrowding, so houses grew not only in width but also in height. However, by the order of Emperor Augustus, residential buildings were not allowed to exceed 21 meters in height. Such dwellings had cold and hot water, heating, and sewage systems. Allow us a small remark. Even today, builders in Rome are not allowed to build housing exceeding this specified height limit. In ancient Rome, slaves and servants made up to 40% of the population. All labor requiring physical effort was performed only by them. Wealthy citizens even had specialized slaves whose hair was used to wipe hands after meals. Ancient Rome was renowned for its high level of medicine at that time. Physicians successfully practiced surgical intervention, so appendicitis was not a cause for alarm. However, when a patient died after surgery, the unfortunate doctor had their hand severed. Honestly, it's quite a decent motivation to be a top-tier medical specialist. Ancient Roman literature experienced a golden age, a time of birth of the world's first poetry, and the flourishing of lyrical talents such as Virgil, Horace, and Ovid. At the same time, the ancient Roman public greatly enjoyed bloody spectacles during gladiatorial combat. And that's not all. In ancient Rome, it was entirely customary to use the blood of slain gladiators. It was believed that in this way, a person rejuvenates and multiplies their vitality. This is no exaggeration or fabrication. Not. Several Roman authors, independently of each other, described how after gladiatorial combats, the blood of the deceased participants was collected in small bottles and sold for a hefty sum as medicine. Certainly, modern residents of the Italian capital don't engage in gladiatorial combat, don't shout "Viva" to the winners, and head straight to the doctor for their health. Perhaps, like us, most of them eagerly learn about the imperial past from authoritative historical sources. They marvel at the lives of their ancestors and never regret being born in Rome, the capital of this incredible Mediterranean country. In the 4th century, the mighty Roman Empire gradually declined due to invasions by barbarian tribes, civil wars, and popular uprisings. Regardless of resistance, all empires are destined to fall. Historical facts are stubborn evidence of this. Over many centuries, Rome repeatedly emerged as a significant player on the global geopolitical stage. This seemingly drained the state's resources. We won't delve into detailed analytical research to avoid encroaching on historians' territory. We'll simply note that since 1870, Rome has been merely the administrative center of the Lazio region. It wasn't until the end of World War II on June 13, 1946, that the country was officially declared a republic, and Rome was designated as Italy's capital. Life thrives in modern Rome. The city is practically indistinguishable from other world megacities. Around the clock, it bustles with the same large number of people, noise, and cars. The urban agglomeration of Rome is home to up to 4 million inhabitants, ranking second only to Milan. Rome, as befits a capital, remains the hub of the most crucial institutions of socio-political life and the financial economic center of the country. Only one thing sets Rome radically apart from all other cities combined. Here, time seems to have frozen in place. It gives the impression that time itself has found the best refuge on earth, and now, as a rightful master, entertains guests only in Rome. Let's journey to the Eternal City Majestic, unique, boundless, with awe-inspiring beauty in its vast array of architectural ensembles and works of art of global significance. Europe is for sightseeing, but Italy is for experiencing life. Anyone who's been to Italy bids farewell to other lands. Those who've glimpsed heaven never wish to return to earth.
Ma che buio stasera.
These timeless words from a literary giant perfectly encapsulate the essence of this extraordinary country, with Rome unquestionably at its core. Italy is a destination you must visit to avoid regretting that life passes by in vain. Like a fine wine, Italy should be savored sip by sip, slowly, to fully appreciate the exquisite nuances of this magnificent country's unparalleled charm.
Mi viene una gran voglia di chiamarla. Luna!
The boot-shaped peninsula, caressed by the warm waters of 5 seas, has bestowed upon the world priceless artistic treasures, the masterpieces of Leonardo da Vinci and Titian, Raphael and Michelangelo. Here, Dante's immortal poetry was born, Fellini's cinematic marvels were crafted, and the enchanting melodies of Italian opera resonated. And let's not forget that authentic pizza and pasta, the longest strands of spaghetti, originated right here.
C'è invece un suono che viene da lontano. Una melodia.
Italy, like a magnet, irresistibly attracts all connoisseurs of beauty, and the dulce vita, the sweet life. A visit to Rome is the aspiration of nearly every traveler. So let's set aside both minor and major tasks for later and, with immense relief, cross sunny Italy off our list of unvisited countries. After all, where do all roads lead? Indeed, to Rome.
Fino ad illuminare tutta la strada.
Rome stands as the greatest repository of world culture. It's a veritable mecca for history and architecture enthusiasts. No other capital boasts such a density of monuments per square kilometer. Rome rightfully earns its title as an open-air museum, with remarkable attractions awaiting at every turn. Its to divide them into several routes, as recommended by seasoned guides, guidebooks, and intuition. With your consent, we humbly attempt to aid in that endeavor.
Che continua, continua, continua. Poi ad un tratto, la luna.
Most of Rome's tourist routes originate from the very heart of the eternal city, Piazza Venezia. The square derived its name from the Venetian palace in the 15th century. Until 1560, the square was known as San Marco. The Venetian Republic brought a significant delegation to Rome and aimed to establish a permanent residence here. Construction of the luxurious palace began immediately. No one in Rome wanted to spoil relations with a neighboring state. They were in a hurry. The main building material was travertine, sourced from the ruins of the Coliseum. During the Middle Ages, ancient landmarks held no historical value. Cattle grazed in the Roman forums, and the Coliseum became a vast quarry for building materials. Thus, the majestic structure emerged, its name long sought after. The central Roman square of San Marco became Venetian, an ideal geometric space and the heart of Rome. The Venetian palace changed hands numerous times throughout different eras. It wasn't until 1916 that it finally became state property. Today, the flags of the Italian Republic and the European Union flutter on the famous balcony of the palace, while inside lies the Lazio Museum. The uniqueness of its exhibits is breathtaking. Here, one can and must see paintings by outstanding masters of the Italian school, sculptures, original furniture, and household items of Romans from the Middle Ages to the 19th century. 500 years ago, officials would step onto the balcony of the Venetian palace to deliver fervent speeches to their subjects or witness the Roman carnivals in all their splendor. And there was plenty to see. During the carnival, no one awaited bright fireworks, costume processions, or extravagant masks. The climax of the festive spectacle was the Barbary horse races, specially imported to Rome from Morocco and Algeria. Poor animals without riders, spurred on by hot resin, raced with all their might along Corso Street, the main street in Rome. From the windows of the 14 noble palaces, the crazed horses were encouraged no less than the subjects. Among the numerous estates of this aristocratic quarter, one seems particularly noteworthy: the Bonaparte Palace. It is located at the beginning of Corso Street, outlining Venice Square. In 1818, appreciating its unparalleled architecture, the palace was acquired by Maria Letizia Bonaparte, Napoleon's mother. On the right side of its facade was a spacious corner balcony, characteristic only of Roman palaces. It cannot be said with certainty whether Donna Bonaparte was present during the Barbary races or whether she was aesthetically restrained. However, it is known for certain that she spent a great deal of time on this balcony, gathering news and gossip. They called it a peculiar salon, the balcony of rumors and news. In 1905, Napoleon Bonaparte's heirs sold the estate to Marquis Michatelli, yet in all tourist guidebooks, it is still referred to as the Bonaparte Palace. Sorry for this compositional digression, but it is worth taking advantage of. After renovation, the Bonaparte estate was opened to the public as an art exhibition gallery. The latest one, in 2020, was dedicated to French Impressionists. Fans of visual arts were indeed lucky then. They saw 50 masterpieces from Camille Pissarro to Claude Monet. However, it's time to return to Venice Square. During the horse races, it was packed to the brim as the Barbary races finished here. It was not without pushing. Romans loved such spectacles immensely. King Vittorio Emanuele, i.e., I put an end to such public entertainments in 1874. The reason was the death of a 10-year-old boy under the hooves of enraged horses. The monument to Vittorio Emanuele, near the staircase of the Venetian palace, was built not only for this. His greatest merit was the unification of Italian lands. This happened in 1861, the first time since the fall of the Roman Empire, once a mighty state. Part of the monument is a 12-meter bronze statue of King Vittorio on horseback. Beneath it lies the tomb of the unknown soldier, a symbolic altar of the fatherland. Now Italians call the entire memorial complex Vittoriano. The architectural composition is built as an ideal ascending path to the grandiose columned portal of the Venetian palace. There's always a huge number of tourists near the Vittoriano because there's an observation deck on its roof, the only place for panoramic views of the historic center of Rome. Believe me, the photos taken here will be the best ones you've taken in your life. And if you're lucky, from a knowledgeable guide, you'll learn that the current residents of Rome often criticize this architectural complex, jokingly calling it a typewriter or denture. Or even worse, a wedding cake. It's hard to imagine the Eternal City without the symbol of the imperial might of ancient Rome, the Colosseum. The Colosseum stands as the most renowned of Rome's attractions, and indeed, among all of Europe's landmarks. It serves as the iconic symbol of the Italian capital and remains one of the most monumental constructions of the ancient era. Once dubbed the Temple of Death, in ancient times, it witnessed the demise of thousands of gladiators and animals in brutal contests in its arena. A lesser-known fact, simulated sea battles were also staged here, with the entire arena being filled with water for realism. The colossal proportions of the amphitheater allowed it to host up to 87,000 spectators simultaneously, each allotted a seat nearly 35 centimeters wide. Translated from Italian, Colosseo Colosso means huge, a fitting descriptor for its grandeur. Its initial moniker, the Flavian Amphitheater, quickly faded from common usage. Construction on this marvel began in the 72nd year AD, with the ascension of Emperor Titus Flavius Vespasian. Among Vespasian's objectives was the obliteration of Nero's cult and the fortification of his imperial legacy. The opulent palace of the former emperor was repurposed for state functions, while the site of a reservoir was chosen for the amphitheater's construction. Remarkably, the Coliseum was erected in a mere 9 years, a feat achieved through the expertise of the era's finest engineers and architects. Over 100,000 slaves were employed in transporting and lifting building materials to the site. Consequently, the amphitheater, towering about 50 meters in height and stretching over 80 meters in length, emerged within a remarkably short span. Apart from its colossal dimensions, The Colosseum's architectural form closely resembles similar structures of ancient Rome. Encircling its arena is an elliptical ring of multi-tiered seating, spanning over half a kilometer in total length. Its walls were fashioned from massive blocks of travertine, bound together with iron stakes and concrete, and adorned with brick and tuff within volcanic rocks hardened over time. The Colosseum introduced a revolutionary design element, a system of multiple entrances evenly spaced around its circumference, a method still employed in modern stadium construction. This innovation allowed spectators to fill the vast edifice in just 15-20 minutes and exit thrice as fast. The seating hierarchy was evident, with the imperial family and dignitaries occupying the lower tier, officials of Roman authority above, and individuals of lower social standing relegated to the third tier, less favorable for viewing. To protect against rain and scorching sun, they used a canvas canopy that was securely fastened to the walls of the Colosseum. This awning was managed by 500 legionnaires, each occupying specific spots on the fourth tier. Interestingly, it was only after Emperor Vespasian's death that this canopy was added to the Colosseum. His son Titus ordered the construction of the tier for the less affluent citizens who also wanted to attend the spectacles. For a long time, the Colosseum arena was indeed used for cruel spectacles, gladiatorial battles, animal hunts, and the execution of criminals. In the 5th century, gladiatorial fights were banned, but the mistreatment of animals continued for many years. After the barbarians came to Roman territory, the Colosseum lost its original purpose. Craft workshops were set up here, and burials began to take place directly within the arena. In the 14th century, a powerful earthquake struck Rome, leading to the decline of the amphitheater. Roman citizens, through their actions, continued what nature had started, dismantling the ruins of the Colosseum for construction materials. Pope Benedict XIV intervened to save this priceless historical monument, taking it under his protection. Thanks to Benedict, this majestic structure has survived to the present day. Today's Colosseum has only 1,500 adapted seats, yet despite this, global celebrities are eager to choose its stage for their concerts. The amphitheater on the Palatine Hill stands as the most visited tourist attraction. Come here and you too. Don't be discouraged by the crowds of visitors. Not seeing the Colosseum means not truly being in Rome. By touching these ancient walls, one can easily feel not only the passage of time, but also immerse oneself directly in the events of the historical past of the Roman Empire. If you're not too tired from touring the Colosseum, it's worth visiting the ancient structure next to the legendary amphitheater. This is the Arch of Constantine, erected in the year 315 AD. It is the largest and best preserved among all triumphal arches built in honor of Roman emperors. It was constructed after the victory of Emperor Constantine II. The new ruler defeated his predecessor and assumed leadership of the state. Curious visitors may ask, what is the historical significance of the Arch of Constantine? Unlike other similar architectural structures, the Arch of Constantine is the only landmark in Rome associated with victory in a civil conflict, rather than victory over external enemies. The triumphal arch is quite grandiose in its architectural design. Perhaps the victors, as they say, are not judged. Its height is 21 meters, and its width is about 26 meters. The arch consists of 3 spans. Marble blocks were used for the base of the arched part, while the cornice was made simply of brick. It was then covered with marble on top. Moreover, fragments of other monumental structures in Rome were used in the construction of the arch. The attic is adorned with 8 reliefs that once adorned the monument to Emperor Marcus Aurelius. Sculptures of defeated Dacians, were likely taken from Trajan's Forum. There are several explanations as to why the creators of the arch took such a step. According to researchers, at that time, the architectural art of the Roman Empire was not experiencing its best times. Masters were unable to create an architectural masterpiece for the emperor, as builders of previous centuries had done. Other scholars dismiss this version, acknowledging the unique beauty of architectural art in late antiquity. Thirdly, some believe that architects were forced to build the arch in the shortest possible time, so using ready-made ideas and materials helped significantly shorten the construction process. In addition, elements of stolen decor from the times when the Roman Empire was ruled by Trajan, Hadrian, and Marcus Aurelius had symbolic significance, suggesting that Constantine I stood on par with the three great emperors. We by no means diminish the historical and architectural value of the Arch of Constantine and the achievements of Constantine. They do not need this. Their greatness is beyond doubt. Stop right in front of the Arch of Constantine. Episodes from the life of Emperor Constantine are depicted on the reliefs of its columns. He is not a fictional character, and the monument in his honor is just as real a narrative in drawings about the most outstanding events from the history of the Roman Empire. This is a kind of tour of the great power, which during the time of Constantine experienced the first signs of irreversible decline. The Roman Forum, or the Forum of Trajan. That's the name of the square right in the heart of Rome. In its time, the Forum served as the main venue for public life and everyday communication among the citizens. Situated in the valley between three hills, the Palatine, the Capitol, and the Esquiline, it was once marshy terrain, drained during the reign of Tarquinia for construction. The Forum of Trajan was designed in the early 2nd century by the Syrian architect Apollodorus. One part of the structure was intended for shops, while the other was for public ceremonies, celebrations, elections for office, and magistrates. Oratorical speeches were delivered here, and judgments were pronounced on the condemned. During the rule of Emperor Augustus, the Roman Forum significantly expanded and reached such proportions that it became the center of the city's business, religious, and social life. Architecturally, the Forum consists of numerous covered colonnades, measuring 200 by 120 meters, with exedra deep niches with seats along the walls. Romans entered the Forum through the Triumphal Arch. This monumental structure was built for one purpose: to glorify the emperor. Although there was no temple on the Roman Forum, there was a huge column with a sculpture of Trajan in a chariot drawn by 6 horses. Trajan's column became one of the main attractions of Rome. It's not just a tall marble pedestal. It's a narrative epic dedicated to the conquest of Dacia, the territory corresponding to present-day Romania. Among the lines of this marble tale, sculptors placed the image of the goddess of victory together with Emperor Trajan. He's depicted as a simple warrior and marked among the legionnaires no less than 59 times. Well, the ancient propagandists knew the rule well. It's better to see once than hear 100 times. In total, about 2,500 human figures are carved on the frieze of the column. This is not counting horses, mules, sheep, ships, houses, trees, and siege engines. In Rome, there's a square that always grabs the attention of visitors with its expansive Baroque staircase. It's known as the Spanish Steps, symbolizing genuine, not artificial, friendship between nations. Throughout its history, the Spanish Steps surprisingly served as a haven for foreigners. During the Middle Ages, the hill it sits on belonged to French territories. Later, the British aristocracy settled here, playfully dubbing the square the English Ghetto. The first Spaniards arrived in the early 17th century, and Spain acquired the luxurious Palazzo Monaldeschi for their embassy. The square gradually became known as the Spanish Square, with the name eventually becoming official. The layout of the Spanish Steps Square resembles two unequal triangles. The famous Spanish Steps are found in the larger, northern triangle. In the smaller, southern triangle, lies the Palace of Spain, from which the square takes its name. Just below its perimeter sits the Piazza Fountain. It was built in 1627 by the architect Pietro Barberini. You probably won't remember this name. To avoid that, it's worth mentioning that this sculptor is no sculptor at all. Both father and son, the Barberinis, started as masters of garden and park sculpture. The archaic style of the father's work only satisfied the tastes of provincial landowners, with a level of sophistication akin to a wine jug in a backyard. Lorenzo, the son, was more talented than his father. The compositional idea of the Piazza Fountain in the Spanish Square wasn't the result of the young Barberini's creative imagination. In 1598, during a flood, a barge, in Italian barcaccio, did run aground here. The son, Barberini, cleverly incorporated the decorative marble boat into the fountain project. Filled to the brim with water, it became the main and quite unexpected attraction. It was a real depiction of a sinking boat, from which water flows from the stern and bow. Another surprise was that the father appropriated the authorship, fame, and fee from his son for the Piazza Fountain. Equally interesting is the story of the famous Spanish Steps. It was conceived by Etienne Gueffier, the French ambassador to Rome, who proposed connecting the Spanish Square with the Franciscan church via a staircase as a symbol of the unbreakable alliance between France and Spain. That's international friendship for you. In a philanthropic mood, the ambassador decided to finance the construction of the staircase with his own funds. Strangely enough, he kept his word. In his will, the ambassador left 20,000 scudi for the construction. The staircase undoubtedly adorned the square. The French Cardinal Mazarin raised his eyebrows and tried to go further. He suggested crowning it with a sculptural image of Louis XIV. But for some reason, Louis didn't arouse much enthusiasm among Italians, and the project designs went up in smoke. Today, the Spanish Square is known as the Fashion District. Outdoor fashion shows of renowned couturiers take place here. Numerous elite boutiques are considered the most expensive in Rome, as famous Italian brands are represented precisely on Condotti Street, which starts directly from the Spanish Square. It's a true gallery of designer names: Armani, Gianfranco Ferré, Gucci, Dolce & Gabbana, Laura Biagiotti, Valentino, Rocco Barocco, Trussardi, and other branches of globally recognized brands. In short, if your tourist budget allows, you have the opportunity to purchase exclusivity with unparalleled dignity. Buying a truly worthwhile item in Italy on the Spanish Square is no small feat. In Rome, there's another square that has always attracted those who put in considerable effort to enhance their life achievements. During the Empire, there was a stadium here where athletes competed almost daily. During the Renaissance, it became a place for the flourishing talents of great architects, and today it's known as the haven for Roman street artists. This is Piazza Navona, one of the most interesting locations in tourist Rome. Colorful and grandiose at any time of the year, it's notable for its unusual shape and fantastic architecture. Let's start with the obvious. The shape of Piazza Navona differs from the classical one. That's because it entirely replicates the perimeter of an ancient stadium. It appeared here in the middle of the 1st century, and in the year 85 AD it was expanded by order of Emperor Domitian. The Romans loved this arena. The bleachers could easily accommodate over 15,000 spectators. Travertine arcades protected the stadium from all sides. Here, sports competitions were systematically held. However, when lightning struck the Coliseum in 217, gladiator fights were temporarily moved here during repair works. The Roman Empire declined, and the stadium gradually lost its former glory. The travertine fortifications were dismantled for the construction of residential buildings. The open space of Piazza Navona was left only for fairs and carnivals. However, carnivals, as it's known, don't last forever, and Navona looked a bit dull and modest without them. Rome couldn't stand for this. A competition was immediately announced for the best architectural project with fountains to adorn the square. Giovanni Lorenzo Bernini, a talented and ambitious architect, crafted a silver model of the fountain composition and named it the Fountain of the Four Rivers. No one and nothing could compete, and Lorenzo began building his masterpiece. Did the talented fountain master know back in 1651 that millions of tourists would come and go to admire his four rivers in Piazza Navona, and their delight would know no bounds? The fountain's composition depicts four large river gods of the time: the European Danube, the Asian Ganges, the American La Plata, and the African Nile. Moreover, they represented the four parts of the world. The statues of the river gods are complemented by samples of the plant and animal life of the countries they reflect. The horse seems to emerge from the marble block into the floral plains of the Danube. Cacti and crocodiles crown the mouth of La Plata. On the eastern side, a lion drinks water at the roots of an African palm tree. A dragon coils around the oar of the Ganges, while a dolphin and a sea serpent swim in the fountain's basin. The material of the allegorical sculpture is white marble. Its compositional perfection is greatly enhanced by the play of water, which creates an irresistible desire to gaze upon it forever. In the northern section of this square, there's another architectural gem, adorned with playful water, the Fountain of Neptune. It's truly magnificent. The fountain in Piazza Navona attracts tourists just as much as other landmarks in Rome. However, its current appearance wasn't always so. Originally, the fountain served a purely practical purpose. It was a common source of drinking water for craftsmen from the nearby street, where they crafted pans. The decorative sculptures that now embellish the Fountain of Neptune were added in the latter half of the 19th century. Rome is filled with both expected and unexpected beauty. These are artistic masterpieces that can be discovered at every turn, as they cannot be contained within museums. The exemplary harmony of Rome lies in its flawless architectural lines, the unique combination of stone and water, and the charm of narrow alleys where time seems to stand still since the era of greatness. Love for Rome truly strikes in an instant. It's the only place on earth where you'll want to return with an irresistible desire never to part again.